Hello everyone and welcome back to the BNSF Birdwood subdivision. Well, we have our turnout installed and we're laying our track on the passing siding now. So let's go and have a look and see how I lay Midwest cork and do curved soldered joins for beautiful smooth track work. Now I'm using a mixture of 70% PVA glue and 30% water to glue my cork down, whatever thing you feel is appropriate. And I don't make it too runny because when you turn the cork over, if you have it too runny, the glue will run everywhere. Also make sure I put a little bit extra on the ends where it joins the other cork. And you'll also notice that I stagger my cork joints as well. So there's always a flat or straight piece of cork next to a joint. It's probably no big deal, but I feel this makes for a smoother and more reliable joint. So we put it down there and I have a centre line. I use a centre line. Some people use a edge line, but I prefer a centre line. And make sure that it follows the centre line there. And then we'll give it a bit of a tap down with a hammer before we temporarily pin it with some track pins. Now on straight sections I always use a straight edge to get the cork straight. You may think this is going a bit over the top, but the better you lay your cork, the better you can lay your track, because you basically lay the track to the cork. And I find that laying the cork properly makes laying the track so much easier. Now once I'm happy with the alignment of the cork, I pin it down with some old Atlas track pins and wait for it to dry. I'm lucky in this instance that I can have the old work train coming beside me there with all my equipment and tools. Normally it follows the track and is behind the cork running on the newer track, but we're a bit spoilt this time. We're approaching the curve now. We need to do a join on the curve, so to get beautiful kink-free track, let's do a lovely soldered smooth joint. Right, here's our join. So you can see that if I match these rails up here, that this inner one here is longer, which is what happens when you go around a curve, obviously. Now the idea is not to cut them parallel to each other. With rail joins, you want to stagger them as much as you can. They do it in the real railroad. And that way it means if you stagger a join, if your join's here, opposite the join you've got a straight section of rail, should I say a full section of rail. And of course, opposite this joint up here, you have a full section of rail. So it makes it stronger. And it also looks better. So what we're going to do is get our rail cutters. Now I just mark these first with a little ding like that, because we need to cut with the flush side over here like this. I go along here till I feel the little ding in the duva. There it is there. That, when that falls down onto the track below, beautiful. Let's just try it. Nice one. Underside of it there, it's always very important. These rail cutters do a very nice job, I must say. I remember the old days of hacksaw blades and side cutters, and oh God, what a drama. Now on the curves, I like to use the Pico long, or the standard Pico fish plate, because it's longer and it gives you more strength. There we go. Now I've also cut the fish plate, cut the tie there, or the sleeper. Now, normally if this was cork here, there would be cork underneath here, and I would just be doing this like this, and then I would pin it to the cork. Oh, how about that? There's a fish plate on the other track. Jesus, I think I really do need glasses. Wow. Okay, so I'll just creep that line back there a little bit. Right, we've got some flux center joins here now, and we've also made sure that our track is pretty well straight this way and level this way, up and down this way. So you can see how it's kinking a little bit there. I'll hold that down, and also we want it straight going along this way, because remember, we want to solder the curve. We want to solder the track when it's straight. We don't want to solder it when it's curved, because what's the point? So there we go, that's pretty good. Right, our rails are straight this way and our rails are straight that way, as in top and line. Clean our iron, put a little bit of solder on him, hold the track down. There we go. This solder's a little bit too big for this, but anyway. And you'll see it run down there. You don't want too much, so you get a nice little thing over there. And we go around the other side. Now I don't bother soldering the inside, because you will actually see on this one, if the light's good enough, you will see the solder come through. There we go, see it bubbling on the inside there, and you'll see the solder coming up. There we go. So there's plenty of solder in that joint there, and there you have it. We let that dry, and we'll clean it with some IPA. I know, we're going to clean it with IPA, and then before we run trains, we'll be going over it with some inox. But for now, a little bit of the old IPA on a brush. See, I'm using, do as I say, not as I do. I'm using the wrong type of flux here, only because I bought a big tin of it years ago. So it's not actually electrical flux. It's not the same stuff I use for my decoders and other work, but this is, I only use it for track work because I've got a lot of it, and we can wash it off with no problem. So of course when we start running trains, we'll be coming back through there with the old inox. And when that's cold, which it is now, then we can bend it round, because that's straight at the moment, pretty much straight at the moment. We can bend it round and we have beautiful, seamless, slightly staggered, curved joint, which is what you want. And as you can see, there is our beautiful curved joint. There we go. So there you go. That's how it should look. Now, once again, we've staggered our joints. It's just how it worked out. I had to cut a little bit off this one, so we get a nice little staggered joint there, just by about 5mm, quarter of an inch. And always, well, I always put a little spray inox or CRC on the joint. Two reasons. I've also cut the tie plates off of here and the tie plates off of here. And this rail here, I think I experimented with some weathering paint. So I've gone through and I've scratched the paint off there. I don't know what I was doing with that, but anyway. Let's be careful not to get in the way of the shot. Okay. Bit of wiggle room. There we go. Now, we've had a bit of a cold snap, so what I'm going to do is leave a gap here of about this blade, because what happens is, in summer, let's push that up there, let's get a little bit more. what happens in summer, this track will expand and we will have rail buckles. And if you don't believe me, it really is a thing with models as well. There we go. Well, we've finally made it down to this point here. This is as far as we can go with our siding now, before I get a curved turnout to install. And there's a Pico curved turnout going in just here, and that will lead up into the industry that's going to be built up in here, our grain facility, our oil facility. So, don't panic. You're probably seeing here that there is grey foam underlay on the track here. I'm running short on Midwest cork, so I've stopped it just before the tunnel entrance. There's going to be a tunnel going around this whole curve at the back here, and I'm going to leave the foam in there for a while until I get some more Midwest cork, so I can use the cork that I have left on the main line here and put it underneath the turnout, because foam underneath turnouts is horrible. So that's why I ripped up the whole bottom of the layout, because it was on foam before I discovered Midwest cork. So it's about as far as we can go at the moment. But what that does, it lets us have a look at tunnels and what to do about tunnels. So I've got a very interesting thing about tunnel linings coming up. So let's have a look and see what we're going to do and where we're going to put the tunnel for tunnel lining. Okay, we're just going to have a look here. Oh, Jesus. Who built this? Right. Here we are in the centre of the mountain. And you can see the cork roadbed finishes here. And the foam starts and goes around. And I will bring the cork further up when I get some more. But for the moment, the tunnel will be starting about here and going around to about there. So I've sort of got, something like this. It's about, how far would that be in tunnel? Oh, I don't know. 6 feet, thereabouts, a couple of metres in tunnels. So, tunnels, interesting. I've been looking at tunnel liners for quite a while and seeing what to do and how to make it look more realistic. Just for the entrance, you only need to have enough tunnel lining to where it disappears around the curve. So, a fellow YouTuber, Railfan220 Cam over there in the States, Cam has done some great work on his layout. You should check it out. And he did a tunnel lining made of plaster and he used a cardboard frame. So I've taken that idea and I've sort of given it the old fish plate films trick up, and that will be coming along in a couple of weeks on how I do this tunnel lining for in here. But I made another one first. So anyway, that's another video. That's coming along soon. But as far as for our siding, we've laid our cork, we've done our soldered joints here, and lovely smooth soldered rail joints for our curve, and we're down to as far as we can go. So that's it for this one, and we'll see you on the next one for our tunnel lining or our curved turnout installation. We'll see which way we go, which one happens first. But anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one on the BNSF Birdwood subdivision. So hooroo, and thanks for watching. Bye bye. How the hell do I get out of here?